Agriculture. It is a great pleasure to have you on board in this time of COVID-19 pandemic. This series of trainings have been carved out with an objective of equipping our early esteemed participants on how to diversify their income through precision agriculture with focus on livestock. And today is the part 2 of the training. Crowder Agriculture works closely with public and private sectors in Nigeria, also providing service related to agribusiness. As an agribusiness consultant, we map, monitor, survey, market, and formulate strategies of increasing sales in all kinds of agro products. Our team of business consultants have experience in delivering practical agro-businesses with a detailed knowledge of all types of farming system. We help in development of business plan and improving the efficiency of a current system. Our plans are based on practical and informed knowledge of farming and rural activities. Also, we advise clients on strategic business planning and performance monitoring service in exploring their options, benchmark, performance, reducing cost, increasing income, and help to ensure long-term business viability through strategic business reviews. However, part of our main focus is to provide environmental stewardship advice across a wide range of farming. Also empower farmers across Nigeria by getting them access to fundings, support, quality seeds, and capacity building for improved yield in the country. Our service follows the best practical principles of wildlife, including the environment, soil, and water that integrates with everyday farming. In the course of this training, I'll kindly give the guidelines for these sections. Please, you kindly mute yourself and put off your video. This is to curtail any form of disruption of the training. You can tender your questions or suggestions in the chat box, indicating your name in full, your organization, so that when you make a comment or ask questions, we are able to identify you. With this, I would like to invite the facilitator for today's training to make his presentation in the person of Dr. Shaibu Abdulaziz, rather. He is a breeder by profession, with broad knowledge on agribusiness. He's a master trainer on agricultural development projects, and currently he is the general manager, Crowder Agriculture. Mr. Abdulaziz, over to you, sir.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. It is my singular honor and pleasure to be with you once again. We are still discussing diversifying your income through precision agriculture with focus on minor livestock. Before we go into today's presentation properly, I would like to cast our minds back to what we discussed yesterday. From what we discussed, we would understand invertebrate animals known as mollusks, and we say they belong to the class of gastropods. Try to look at the advantages in snail production. We try to give a preview of the available markets and then the demand all over the continent. And we're able to look at the merit of snail farming, and are free to say that it is applicable to people who are civil servants, private workers from different organizations, and even the less privileged, and that we're able to mention at least up to 8 or 9 merits of snail farming in our previous class. And we talked about the species of snails, and are free to have 3 types of edible species that we discussed yesterday. We discussed about Argentina, with Argentina marinata, and we discussed about Argentina feluca. We talked about site selection, and I made it very clear that in as much as snail farming is that easy. We will try as much as possible to give it the environment it deserves to strive well. And I mentioned that we should try as much as possible to avoid soil with high pH because it is going to hinder the growth of the plant it will hinder the growth of the snail. And at the same time, I say we should avoid heavy soil such as clay soil because of its ability to be waterlogged during the rainy season and then the dry off during the dry season. And we recommended high soil with high humus for better production. So today we are going to look into housing. Yesterday housing, but to look at the requirements needed, the necessary guidelines needed for housing. So the type and dimension of snairy depends obviously on the snail growing system you choose. If you are a big shot, you have a lot of money to invest into snairy, your style of housing will varies. But if you are a starter, somebody who is patching life, trying to mitigate the effect of COVID-19, you have your own class, and somebody who is a middle class, somebody with a little startup capital, you have your own standard of housing you can consider for snairy. As much as housing is concerned, your snail farm could be extensive, semi-intensive, and intensive in increasing order of complexity. Regardless of the size and type of your snail farm, the housing system must meet the following conditions. One, it must be spacious. In accordance with the growing stage of the snails, hatchlings, juveniles, breeding snails, or mature snails for fattening or for consumption, snails suffers from overcrowding, which impaired their development and increase the risk of diseases. Suitable rearing density range from 100 per meter square for hatchling to 7 to 10 meters square for breeding snails. We were able to hit on this yesterday on the impact of overcrowding, of which there's a need for oxygen, there's a need for light and what have you. It's still the same thing is applicable to human being. Let's assume you have a room that is supposed to accommodate only 4 people, and you end up occupying or accommodating 10 people. What will happen? They will suffocate, and some of them might even die off, while some might even collapse. So we try as much as possible to limit the overcrowdedness of the snail so that we can be able to make high return on investment. Secondly, we look at an easily accessible. The farm should be easily accessible. How do we mean should be easily accessible? We said you can be able to run this behind your backyard. Okay. Now, if for instance you are staying in a so in Karo, you might be having some challenges of visiting the farm often. But if the farm is in a close by destination, it is easier for you to carry out each activity you want to carry out in it. And then most especially in feeding, you have to bring in feeds in the morning. Sorry, bring in feed in the evening and take them off in the morning. So if it is not accessible, it is going to be very complex for you to achieve it. Now, thirdly, it is supposed to be well protected. It should be well protected from insects, predators, and even humans. We were told yesterday that the major pests to snails are humans because of the juicy nature, because of because of its importance in meal. So people can go extra mile to steal, just to have that taste. Okay. From human pests. And secondly, we have millipedes, centipedes who most of the time find their ways into this housing. We try as much as possible to limit the activity. We can achieve this by using mosquito nets, mesh, wire, and so on and so forth. Now, fourthly, we knew too well that snails are what? Escapees. They are ardent escapees. Wherever you keep them, they must always find their way out. So now, in order to prevent them from escaping, it is necessary to have escape proof. Okay, now how do you achieve this? I have mentioned some of them, of which you can use in at the management systems we have, the which will have the intensive, semi-intensive, and then extensive. Now I'm going to dwell more on the intensive. The intensive system, the snails are what? In enclosure. You provide everything to them, you provide everything for them, both the feed, water, and everything. So this can be carried out in the backyard for commercial farming, and it is very regular. It is very important that you carry out regular record keeping in the farm, for this is going to help you to track the development of the snail. There is super control over disease and predators. Yes, this is achievable because in intensive system, you come in the evening, you give them the amount of food. In the morning, if they are unable to finish the feed, you take it off, and then in the evening you introduce another, which will now limit what? The excesses of droppings and then the excesses of leftover, whereby so many microbial activities can take place, which will lead to diseases. And most importantly, under the intensive system, the management practices are simple, which make it easy to practice in urban and rural areas. So in the intensive system, it is incumbent to understand that you have no limitations in setting up your farms, because you'll not be saying, I don't have the that your compound, you can be able to set up an intensive system. The growth rate can be influenced by introducing ration. What I mean by ration here is what is formulated feeds, okay, with all the necessary nutrients for the betterment growth of the crop. And then under the intensive system, it is the level of theft is highly reduced. Okay, it is highly reduced because they are in enclosure, so people might not have easy access to them. Now let's look at the semi-intensive system. This system is somehow complex and somehow simple. It is simple for those people who are professionals and complex for those people who are beginners. So if you're a beginner, this system is not for you. But however, if you have a consultant who can be able to guide you through all the necessary management practices, then you can be able to go into semi-intensive. Okay, so now in this system, the breeding is being carried out indoors, while the fattening is being carried out outdoors. So if you are not careful enough, by the time you bring them out for fattening, they can easily escape. So you need to be extra careful in maintaining their movement. And that is why you need a professional to be able to achieve this. But if you don't have any on ground, please don't go into this system. The eggs are laid, okay, in a while the young snails 6 to 8 push. So now, after 6 to 8 weeks under semi-intensive system, this is where care and attention is supposed to be given to the movement of those snails. Because if you are not careful, they move as if they will not move. They are slow movers, and most of the times at night, that is when they move faster. You would notice it. So maybe if you just allow them to flex around during the daytime, you feel everything is okay. Then in the evening, they'll just find their way into the bush, and you just lost your investment. And we wouldn't want that to happen. So we advise that you look forward into the intensive system, or you should look for a consultant who can help you to manage the farm effectively. So now let's look at the extensive system. This is a free-range practice where the snails fed for themselves without much involvement of humans. This system, it can be highly susceptible to predators. Okay, so if you want to practice this system, just make up your mind that 50% is for you, 50% is for others. Okay, and then the growth rate is very, very slow. If you are, let's take for instance, if you are feeding the snails in intensive system for maybe after 10 to 15 weeks, they might be weighing around 70 to 80 grams. Under the extensive system, they might be only weighing 30 to 40 grams, of which, time is money. So for we to really make judicious use of our time, then we need to look at the system we're going to adopt. So please, as a beginner, don't even think of extensive system if you want to have return on investment. But however, you can, for people who have vast land in the villages, okay, you can just go to other nearby farms, pick the snails, throw them into it, okay, while they breed, hatch, and they continue to produce for you. But it is rest assured that once it is in the farm, it is for everybody. But however, you can still lay your hands on some that you can be able to have some return on investment. So the recommendation here is, please, let's try as much as possible to look into the intensive system of snaring, because this intensive system is not that even too difficult, not too expensive. Okay, yesterday we mentioned the use of motor tire, condemned ones which are not usable. You can just introduce them, put at least 7 to 10 cm of topsoil into it, and you start. And we'll talk about the hot boxes, which are not even expensive to produce. Okay, and you can use the drums, but while using the drums, please make sure you perforate it for aeration. Okay, because every living thing needs air to survive. So you perforate it and then put at least 10 to 17 centimeters of topsoil so that you can be able to maximize its production. Now, let's look at these two states of living. We have the estivation and the hibernation. The hibernation, feeding and prepare for long-term sleeping. This can last for 7 to 8 months. The hibernation occurs most often during the dry seasons. Now, how can we prevent this from happening? 7 to 8 months is not a joke, right? If I have an investment and for 7 to 8 months there's no improvement, then I should start crying because I have wasted almost a whole year. How can my snails be sleeping for up to almost a year? It is devastating. So what we can do here, we can introduce a system such as the sprinklers. Okay, the sprinklers now over time will now be watering the farm continuously to regulate the temperature and then allow it to meet up its microclimate that we earlier mentioned. So the sprinklers is you can use your buckets, okay, fix some water, don't allow it to be waterlogged, okay, just sprinkle on it. At least there should be some level of moisture in the soil so that the hibernation cannot call the epiphragm. During this period, digestion ceases and gas exchange becomes minimal. No movement to enable them conserve their food, energy, and water, which leads to loss of weight. You see, this particular one is also almost the same thing as the estivation, just that almost the same thing as the hibernation, just that the estivation happens during the cold season. Okay, during the cold season. And now, how do you regulate the temperature in their housing during the cold season? You can decide to use a trampoline, okay, to cover the housing, or you can introduce artificial lights into the housing, at least to create some warmth for the snails. Okay, it is in our former days, our grandparents would normally take some charcoals into the room to allow it to be warm so they can be able to sleep properly. So same is applicable to the snail also. So we can try to improvise to make the place very, very conducive for them so that we can have a great return on investment. My advice on this is that please, you should not in any situation allow your snails to go into estivation or hibernation. It is highly detrimental and it can lead to high cost of investment. Now, let us look at the causes of sicknesses and diseases. As I earlier mentioned, I say snails are not subject to viral infections. So they are just little established diseases of snails, which are the Aeromonas and Staphylococcus and the Salmonella. Now, having understand the nature of these diseases, how will you be able to identify or verify to know that the snails are healthy or not? If the snails are healthy, they'll be very, very active. Okay, if you come into the pen, you see them very active. However, if they are not, you see them inactive. Just as the same thing as with your poultry. If you are visiting your poultry house in the morning, once you knock the door, you see all of them will now face you. Their eyeballs will be in direct contact with you. Okay, the same thing is applicable to snail. If they are very healthy, when you come, you see them, sprayed, playing around. I call it playing around, but however, we will be moving around, not cold. Okay, so now with that, you know that yes, once ever you see them, they are cold, too cold, then you know that the snails are not healthy. And then another thing to take note of is the dryness of the fleshy parts. The dryness of the flesh, once they come out from the shell, you see some moisture. Okay, you see some moisture surrounding it. By the time that is not feasible, by the time you can no longer see that, then automatically the snails are ill. So the easiest way to get that off is just to move the ill one from so that it will not spread around the surviving snails. And then thirdly, you find some nodules on the surface of the snail. We know how nodules happen. If maybe you have grown maybe cowpea before, maybe after 4 weeks, 4 to 5 weeks after planting, if you pull it off, you see some balls around the roots. Those are what we call nodules. So once the snails come out from the shell, you notice it around it, and sometimes it will be like the droppings on top of the shell. So it's telling you that all is not well. And now one of the factors for you to understand that the snails are not healthy is that they lose appetite. They no longer feed as usual, okay? And this will lead to loss of weight. Most of the times, people don't really take note of this because they will imagine, how can I know if my snail is losing weight and what have you? Yes, it is easy for you to know because once you normally carry out weighing, at least you take weight of the snails, then you take the average. So averagely, you should be able to understand that, okay, at this age, they were so, this is what they were weighing. So at this age, this is what they were weighing. So now in every interval of 1 week, this is the progressive measure. So now if it is not going at that progressive measure, then there's a problem. Therefore, you now need to look into it and identify the problem and solve it once and for all. And then the issue of appetite can also come in if the humid nature of the housing is depleted. Okay, if it is depleted, this can also happen. So please, let's try as much as possible to maintain the microclimate for better production. Now, let's look at the causes of sicknesses. Among the causes, we have low relative humidity. Low relative humidity happens as a result of what? High temperatures. So once you are conversant with your temperature, you should be able to know when to regulate the temperature in your housing. It is very, very important how to regulate the temperature in the housing, because if the temperature is too hot, hibernation what takes place. If the temperature is too cold, estivation what take place. So now these are what part of what sicknesses. In sheep and goats, we call them what sleeping sickness. We call them trypanosomiasis. Okay, so it is it is not a good recording for sheep and goats to be having such sicknesses. So same is applicable with snails. So we must try as much as possible to regulate its temperature. Now let's look at the other causes of sickness is direct sunlight. Yesterday we mentioned that in establishing your snairy, it is very important to have a controlled environment where there will be no direct sunlight into the housing. And we recommended you plant some trees around the housing so that it can be able to reduce the direct impact of sunlight into the housing. And we mentioned you can also use you can also put your cage under a shade. If it is not big enough, you can put it under a shade where direct sunlight cannot hit them. And among the causes of this sickness, we have the overstocking of snails. I have talked about this before, which is overcrowding. Let's say put 100, you have speaking, if we happen to carry out this, then we are the cause of our problems ourselves. Okay, we know human beings have a spirit of greed. Okay, yeah, I want to utilize available meter square to achieve 300 gross. It doesn't work that way, you understand? So we must try as much as possible to limit our greed so that we can be able to have better returns on investment. And among the causes of sickness, we have dirty water. As humans, if we consume dirty water, we know what happens. We are prone to typhoid, which is caused by Salmonella species. Okay, so now for we not to expose our snails to this type of sicknesses, is better we now take our time to give them clean water. Please don't go and fetch water that has been used maybe for any agricultural purposes. For instance, herbicide spray, insecticide spray. Because most of the times people who go using salt water, they are not careful enough. They can even use a knapsack sprayer and chuck into the water. They will immerse it into the water and bring it off. Unknowingly to you, you think all this well, you take it to yourself, they'll all drink, and then they'll become sick, and if you're not fortunate enough, they will all die. So please introduce clean water to them in the evenings, and during the morning, please take it off. And among the causes of sickness, we have the fermented or poor quality feed. Sometimes we might be overwhelmed with activities. We'll just putting food into the pen, and then we'll just go. We will believe that they should be able to feed the come. No, it is not done that way. Okay, if you happen to be practicing that, my brother, a time will come whereby the only thing you come and pick in that pen is just the shell. You'll all die off. Because fermentation, as we all know, it has to do with what? It has to do with the decay of the feed you have dropped into the housing. Some of the feed can be highly acidic, right? So once they're fermented into the soil, they are going to increase the soil pH, thereby affecting the good health and quality of the snail. And it is very important, if you want to introduce your feed to the snail, please make sure it is clean. Make sure it is devoid of any foreign particles that can cause harm to the snail, because they are insensitive. Anything they see, they can decide to feed on it, and before you know, You might think you are doing the right thing. At the end of the day, you just lose money. And among the causes of sicknesses, we have salt. You know, salt is made up of what? The normal consumable salt you are talking about is made up of what? It's made up of sodium chloride, and we know what it does on moving animals. Okay, let's say for instance, if you pick a Lepidoptera and then pour salt on it, it will die instantly. Okay, so the same thing happens to snails. They are adversely affected by salt, so we try as much as possible not to allow them to have direct access to salt. And secondly, please don't spray pesticide in your pen. Please. Sometimes you might come and see some insect around. Please don't spray it. Part of the snail, clean it, okay? Just bring them out and clean it to make sure that the place is okay. Because if you spray it, if you dare spray it, oh my goodness, the whole snail, if they don't die immediately, then they'll all die a slow death. They'll all die a slow death, and we wouldn't want that to happen. And that's why we are taking our time to tell you the repercussion of such activity. Now we talked about temperature. You know, we always talk about temperature, relative humidity. This is very important in snail rearing. Okay, it is very important in snail rearing. Please, you should not allow your pen to be above 35 degrees Celsius. Anything above 35 degrees Celsius is detrimental. Okay, so try as much as possible to regulate your temperature. It shouldn't be too low, down to 7 degrees centigrade, and it shouldn't be above what, 35 degrees centigrade. Now, how do we prevent these diseases from happening? It is very important we maintain good hygiene and good management practices. Okay, we talked about changing of the soil 3 months into the production. This is a very good hygiene system. We talked about introducing the food in the night, which we are sure of the quality, introducing it in the night, bringing them off in the morning. These are part of what good management practices and what to achieve a good hygiene. And then there are some equipment that needs to be washed regularly. For instance, the feeding trough, the drinking trough and water, all needs to be washed regularly. And whenever you identify a diseased snail, please don't be in this group of people that say, you go better now, you go well. Please don't do that, okay? Don't do that. Just quietly remove it from the existing snail. This will serve you better. It will save you, because we know diseases are transferable. The way they say if somebody is having cough, okay, tuberculosis, don't stay very close to him because it's so the same thing happens to these snails. Okay, if we can pay such attention to ourselves, we can be able to give our snails this type of attention. And whenever you meet a dead snail in the farm, please remove it. After removing the dead snail, bring out the remaining snails off the farm, clean it, remove the existing soil, and then introduce new soil, because you don't know where the problem is coming from. It might be from the soil. So on doing that, you will now be at the safer side. And then you can, before introducing back the snail into the pen, please wash them with clean water. Don't put salt. If you put salt, then just get ready to put your gas on for the feast. Okay. So we should also have that at the back of our mind. And then the most important aspect of it again, please try and consult an expert. Experts have learned it the hard way. Okay, they have learned it the hard way. Once you consult them, from their previous mistakes, from their previous success, they'll be able to guide you to attain successes. Now, let's look at the general within management. We know it is in our culture in Africa that whatever we do, we want to carry people along. We want our friends to know this is what we are doing, come and see what I'm doing. But in snaring, please try as much as possible to discourage visitors from entering the snaring. Okay? If you want them to see what is happening, just inform them that inform them, sorry, once they have interest, okay, in visiting the snary, just take them close to it. Don't take them in, please. Take them close to it, point it out to them. That is a snary. Inside it, I have 100 snails, and this is how they are doing. And if they insist, I want to see the hour, just go close. They should stand far. Have your BS that they can put on. Then you go yourself, open it yourself while they are seeing it from afar. Okay, and we talked about for you to be able to achieve a very standard management routine. You can also consult Crowder Agriculture that will give you all the laid down procedures, and in fact they can even walk down to your farm to set it up for you, guide you, and then coach you on how to have a whole return on investment. Now this happens, when we talk about inspection of materials, it is very important in management routine. Okay, some people will say, I buy the feed now for market, I buy, then what happens if you buy from market? Okay, no, just need to be very careful. Inspect it very well. Make sure these materials are hygienic, because sometimes somebody who is selling a product to you, he really wants you to buy. Okay, he will use the sugar-coated tongue, to make you buy all this product, and if you go, it will now become detrimental to your snailry. So please, it is even advisable you even formulate your feeds yourself. Much advisable, because the concentrate is very difficult to compose. Okay, so you can still consult Crowder Agriculture. I think that they have expertise in that aspect also. They can be able to coach you on that. So now, don't use chemicals. I'm still repeating this. Don't use chemicals. Sometimes we are very reluctant with some issues. We say, let me just spray my surrounding. Let me just spray my spraying this surrounding. We have there is air movement in and out. Okay, you can be spraying outside to lead to the pen and cause damages. So please try as much as possible not to even spray around the pen, so that the snails can be in a very good health. Okay, and then we talked about adequate shade must be provided. Adequate shade. Plant those trees, put them under corridors, right? Use the spring house and what have you. So these things are very, very important, because shade helps in regulating high temperature, which is very, very important. Now, in trying to give them feed, please, I know we always want it the cheap way. We always want it the easy way, huh? But the road to success, sometimes we need to make some little, at least small sacrifice for us to be able to achieve success. Huh? So please don't go and get moldy feed. Fungus activities have already started taking place in the feed, because it's there, we sell at 5,000 naira, but because of you bring 2,000 naira, my dear friend, please run for your life. Anything they are giving you because of you in a business, just leave it. I'm telling you, because it's going to detriment that. And now, sometimes we do go to the market to pick some of all these unsellable products, such as vegetables and whatever. Please, in doing that also, we should try as much as possible to sort. Sorting is very important. All those leaves that have started losing their natural greenness, please just drop them aside, so that we will not waste our time and energy all the resources we have put into this production, we don't want them to be wasted. So please don't hesitate. Don't hesitate to contact info@crowder.ng.com to forward all questions maybe you might be needed to carry out a proper management of your farm. Okay. Now, we talked about the hatchling achieve good breeding of snails. Please, the environment needs to be humid, okay? Because they need more attention than even the matured ones. Sometimes I love using human beings as example. Okay, if you have a child who is 20 years old and you have an infant baby who is just 3 months, if the baby is crying and the adult too is crying, who do you attend to? You run down to the baby, okay? Because you felt he needs more attention because he cannot fend for himself. The same thing is applicable to the snails. So please, whenever you are breeding, make sure you pay close attention to these young snails, and then make sure they give them all the necessary nutrients they require for better growth. Now, inside and outside the snail should always be clean. Should always be clean. Thank God for COVID-19. We always try as much as possible to maintain clean environment. So please, such should be applicable to snails, okay? Everywhere should be clean. Clean, clean, clean. Cleanliness is the order of the day in snailry production. The feeds and water should be served through troughs for easy accessibility, right? For easy accessibility. And it will be very easy for you, if they are in the trough, it is very easy for you to bring them out and to introduce them in. And it will make cleaning too to be mild. It's not going to be a serious cleaning. So now snails should be protected against soldier ants, snakes, rodents, millipede, and most importantly, human beings. We should try as much as possible to get them protected because this is our investment. The way you protect your PIN of your ATM, please, that is how, of your ATM card, please, that is how you try as much as possible to maintain, and retain your farm, because this is your investment. Okay, over time, if you lose all this investment, you've lost time, you've lost resources, and we at Crowder Agriculture, we wouldn't want that to happen. And we wouldn't want an emergency situation where you now, it is easy these days that people have heart attacks and what have you. So I used to have someone who was into poultry production. Just because of failure of the poultry, I think that was the end of the man's life. So we wouldn't want that to happen. So please, at any point in time where you are not clear of any activity, please, you can consult Crowder Agriculture, and I think we can be able to serve you better. Now, let's look at, after the whole production, what next? Talk about marketing, right? But that is where the whole stuff will now become interesting. I earlier told you yesterday that markets of snails is not a problem because the demand, the demand is always ahead of the supply. Okay, so but if you feel you need an organized market where you can be able to come and form an aggregation for the market, you can come to Crowder. We'll help you to market. We don't have a problem with market, okay? And but before we can help you to achieve this, you have to be part of us, okay? You need to be registered with us. Once you are registered with us, we know that yes, you are part of our market, and we are because we have track record of anticipated inputs that are coming in from farmers, okay? So, but you cannot just step to us and say, I have so things to say, How do you want us to go about it? We have to consult our own customers also and tell them that this is. So now you can also use other means of marketing. We have the local markets, we have the direct consumers, and what have you. But I think in the crowd agriculture, okay, then workmanship will go for 5,000 naira. You can start with 50 breeders, of which each breeds go for 300 naira per one. So 50 breeds will go for 15,000 naira. Feeding cost 8,000 naira. Feed trough and water trough 600 naira. Watering can 1,200 naira. Hand gloves 200 naira. Miscellaneous 3,000. Transportation 2,000 naira. With this, I'm assuring you that you can start your snail farming comfortably and have good return on investment. Now, this is for my participants who are listening to me. I always say motivate yourself. Motivate what? Yourself. No man is a failure until he allows down and the undertakers put him under the feet. So since, please, if you are still alive, if you are listening to me, this is the right time for you to start your own venture. This is the right time for us to have in our list as one of the millionaires we've created through our trainings. Okay, determine your future, settle what you are going to do, and then make everyday pay tribute. How can you make everyday pay tribute? You can make everyday pay tribute through your snail farm. As I earlier said, time is money. So with your snail, you are sleeping, your money is counting. You are working in your office, your money is counting. You are in a meeting, your money is counting. You are driving, your money is counting. Everything you are doing, your money is what? Counting. Save every moment, put yourself on a schedule, okay? Don't always be what? Bored. Boredomness is brother to death, okay? So try as much as possible to put yourself under schedule. This is what I want to achieve. This is what I want to do, and I will definitely have to what? Achieve it. Make your time your wealth. Make your time your wealth. After listening to this presentation, please, if you spend 5 hours in chatting, reduce it to 4 hours, reduce it to 3 hours, reduce it to 1 hour, and then eventually you can even start saying, okay, noted, because you must have been a very busy man. Make moments pay dividends, okay? Whether you're a civil servant, private worker of a private organization, the work you are doing is paying dividends. Yes, it's paying what? Immediate what? Dividends. But what about the long run dividends? You can achieve that through what? Through this farming we are talking about. Make your life worldwide, live the life you want to live. The world is full of opportunities. We say thank you for listening, and we hope to meet you in the next training. Thank you.
Wow, thank you, Dr. Abdulaziz, for this impactful training. I would like you to take this home. According to the facilitator, he said, snake farming is cheap, also creates job. And I believe most of us are moving around searching for job. Why don't you use this opportunity to implement what you just learned today and put it to practice and see the outcome. We would like to welcome questions. You can use your chat box to ask your questions. We'll be here to give you answers. And while you type your answers, I will say the actions that we have put in place, because one thing is to attend the training, another is to implement what you learned. So for us to follow up, I would like, for subsequent training, I would like you to just take action by implementing this. No, it's cheap. So by doing this, I would like you to just send your startup picture. This will enable us to follow up if peradventure what you learned today, you've implemented. So you can just send your startup pictures to info@crowderng.com. So at a time, we can monitor your farm for some time and help us track the success of your farm through this training. Please, we'll be waiting for more questions by using your chat box. Okay, there's a question from Mrs. Charity. He said, is snake farming an all-year-round farming? Dr. Abdulaziz, please over to you.
Thank you so much, Mrs. Charity. Snail farming is an all-year-round farming, okay? You take advantage of the rainy season for breeding, while you take advantage of the dry season to maximize the market value, okay? It is advisable you use your rainy season to breed. Don't worry, because the prices during the rainy season is actually low, okay? So just use your time, breed during the rainy season, then you know what, sell during the dry season. It is an all year round production. There's no hinges, there's no photoperiodic sensitive to any production of snail. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Abdulaziz, for that answer. There's more room for questions. Please use your chat box to ask your questions. Thank you, Mr. Moses, for your questions. To Dr. Abdulaziz, Mr. Moses said, I want to thank you, the presenter, for the insightful presentation. I would like you said yesterday, the training was targeted at me. My question is, I've sorted out breeds for snail sourced from a farm and are mostly the tiger snail. Now, I want to ask, how do I get the tiger breed rather? Over to you, Dr. Abdulaziz. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Julian Moses. I'm very happy to announce that you've already established your own poultry production, your snail production. I think kudos to you. If you really need an exotic breed of Argentina feluca or Argentina marginata, you can equally contact Crowder Agriculture. They will source it for you. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Salamatu. A question to you, Dr. Abdulaziz, which says, can a Crowder Agriculture help me set up the farm?
Oh, yes. Absolutely, yes. We can help you set up your farm, monitor it for you, and if you want us to even take charge of the farm completely, we can do that. So just contact us and we'll just give you our guidelines and you'll benefit from it immensely. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. At this point, we'll be taking just one question, and this is from Mr. Freedom. A question to you, sir, Dr. Abdulaziz. He said, thank you for the conceptual lecture, and I want to ask if this is possible to show us a sample of model pens you may recommend. Also, how long does it take for snail to grow to maturity and marketable size? Over to you, Dr. Abdulaziz.
Thank you so much. I would like the questioner to send a mail to info@crowder@ info@crowderng.com. We are going to send all the recommended modern pens picture for you so that you will now make your choice. I will tell you the advantages and the disadvantage in using each of them. Now you ask another question of how long does a snail meet market price? It all depends on what you are looking for, right? At what age are you in need to dispose your snails? Snails can last for up to a year, two, and so on. But what you will now do is you look at the comparative advantage. After maybe 6 months, if I will sell off this snail, will I make high returns on investment? If yes, why waiting? Because the rate at which they will grow at juvenile age, it will be what's limited as when they have attained 9 to 10 months of age. So it all depends on your choices of when you want to dispose of snail. But advisably, you should always target the dry season where you can be able to have high returns on investment. Thank you.
Thank you. For further information or inquiry, please send us an email to info@crowderng.com or visit our website on www.crowderng.com. Thank you for attending this training. Please, we'll be having training next week. Please kindly join us if this training is impactful to you and you want to learn more. Join us next week as we discuss or talk about the modern aquaculture techniques for sustainable income growth and development. You know, at this point, on behalf of Crowder team, I would love to thank you for attending today's trainings. I do hope you find the learning helpful until we meet again for another training next week. Thank you. Enjoy the rest of your day and stay safe.